This is Gary Atencia with CNTV, and today we're in Westminster, Colorado. I'm here at the Retreat at Church Ranch. Since 1999, this award-winning assisted living community has provided continuous protective oversight with love and service to each other while serving residents from all across the Front Range. I'm joined with the owner, assisted living consultant. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Gary.
Let's start off a little bit about yourself. I mean, you were a regional director for many years. You had a vision of a healthy senior communities that began back really in the early 90s. Share with us a little bit how this journey began for you.
It's been quite a long journey. People have asked me that question often. The personal part of it is that I was raised in 11 foster families, and so I didn't have grandparents to take care of. I didn't have a mother and father to take care of. So it freed me up to take care of everybody else's grandparents and mother and father. But I also loved grandparents because as I grew up in foster families, it was the grandparents along the way that always gave me the best treatment and who I learned to love and respect. So it was kind of a natural for me when I graduated with a undergraduate degree in the psychology of health and healing from a Buddhist university in Europa, and they started up a master's degree in gerontology. It was a natural fit, and I decided to go for it and get into this business.
That is interesting. Now, let's start off first of all. I mean, they say that home is where the heart is. For most of us, our midlife home is not our last home. And yet definitely the definition of home kind of stays the same. What would you say makes a home a home?
Well, when you're at home, you should be free from fear. You should be free from anxiety. You should feel comfortable. You should feel safe. You should feel loved. You should be surrounded by those you love. It should be as much a community as it is a home. It should be a healthy place in all definitions of health. And we have a keen understanding of what health is. And since we're in the health business, we try to put together a healthy organization. The residents feel that, and that's home.
That is home. I mean, you've been involved in the assisted living for over 2 decades easily. Have homes for the elderly changed? Would you say we've improved, and are some of these changes good?
The business has definitely changed. It used to be personal care boarding homes. Very few people knew about them. Most people knew about nursing homes. Mm-hmm. Even today, there's a dearth of knowledge and recognition of assisted living as part of the continuum of care. The regulatory environment that we live under is rather extensive. Some say it's just underneath the nuclear industry and banks. So we're very regulated, and that drives what the industry is all about. For us personally, regulations are the minimum standards, and we set a continuous improvement model. So we're always trying to get better in every aspect of the business. I still think the business from 30,000 feet can be improved. We need better training at the administrator's level, more experienced management, more experienced ownership, and an understanding of what it means to deliver health to the elderly people and our parents and grandparents.
As children of these parents are out there making a decision to seek a home such as the one you provide here, it can be overwhelming. It can be stressful. Your team, are they able to relate and really help navigate and help them through that transition?
It's one thing that we pride ourselves on.
Interesting. As they prepare to make the move from one stage of life to the next, what should these children look for when they're seeking a home? I mean, is due diligence obviously pretty critical when it comes to seeking out a place?
I think they have to listen to their mother or their father. I wouldn't try to be in the driver's seat for my mom or my dad. Make sure that you listen to your parent. Make sure that you understand what they need. Don't let cost or environment or fancy chandeliers or anything else sway you. Understand what the true needs of your parent is, and then see that the place that you are considering for that parent is appropriate and can meet all of their needs.
Interesting. Although many elderly, they cling to the idea of wanting to stay home. Many times, even if they're alone, they're afraid of change like any one of us. Yet, like many changes out there, do you feel actually that can be better for them once they embrace the idea and actually experience it?
I can tell you what happens over and over and over and over. A daughter typically comes in with an elderly mother. That mother's spouse, the dad, had passed away 2 or 3 years earlier, and the mother was left at home alone. Her motivation to eat well and prepare good meals has been diminished, so she's not eating well. The socialization of them going out together and enjoying social situations has diminished, so she's more isolated. The combination of the isolation and the poor nutrition leads to a diminishment in health. It leads to more confusion. They start to not take their medications. Then there's a fall and a hospitalization. So what we typically see is a weary, sad, depressed, frail, elderly woman come in the door with the daughter. Once we start to give them the nutrition they need, get their medications straightened out if there are medications, give them an activity and a social life and surround them with friends that they can make, health returns. So we almost always see a rebound in health because that's the picture we address over and over.
I would think so. I mean, let's discuss why a new home can be a wonderful experience. Let's touch on a few of the services. Like you mentioned, when a person is home, they don't have somebody who can help them with medical administration, reminders to take medicines, that type of thing. Is that something that your team pretty much prides themselves on, the fact that everyone is being taken care of in that way?
Yeah, medications are a very important part of health. We see a lot of different medical conditions that are being addressed with medications. And so we have a very elaborate and modern system for dispensing medications. Wow. Obviously, everyone has to be what's called QMAP'd or Qualified Medication Administration Person. That's a rigorous course that the state puts them through that they have to pass. And we pride ourselves on not having any medication errors. And I appreciate you bringing up the question of staff. The staff is what really makes an assisted living community great or not. And staff should be stable. Turnover is the one thing that affects quality of care more than any other issue. A staff person who understands what medications their resident is on, what time they get out of bed, how often they eat their meals, how much they eat, what activities they go to, how they get their enjoyment, how do they get their health and happiness delivered to them, and how do they embrace that health and happiness. If that staff person disappears, you start all over, and that's really difficult. So the stability of your staff and the training of your staff is very, very important. The resident gets to know that staff person. A relationship is built on trust, friendliness, competency. And so we really work hard to develop a stable staff so that the quality of care that we deliver remains high.
That those professionals are their family, and regardless of what they see, it feels like something they're used to. Let me ask you, things that we've all taken for granted, that of maybe personal care, like bathing, dressing, washing our laundry, are these all the areas of focus that can pretty much be a sign of relief for people who stay here?
Yeah, in the industry, in the business, those are referred to as activities of daily living, and they're the necessities of life. Dirty laundry is a matter of not only hygiene, but respect and self-esteem, all of which lead to a psychological aspect of health. So yes, we want our residents to look good and feel good, which means that they should be dressed, their personal care needs are met, their hairs are taken care of, their fingernails are taken care of. All of the bathing, dressing, personal care, eating, all of the activities of daily living that go into assisted living delivery of care are all very important.
I know for myself, I watched my grandmother who basically took care of herself for quite some time. At the same time, I seen limited meals daily because of the burden of her preparing her own meals. Is the kitchen still the heart of the home? And tell me what that's like here for the residents.
Yeah, obviously, aside from the nutritional aspect of health, mealtime is a social time.
Right.
So we like having seasonally adjusted menus. We like having, that helps us make nothing repetitive. We're not going to serve chicken 5 times a week, for instance. We have a very varied meal plan, and it's all from whole foods, nothing's canned, nothing's boxed, which most of our grandparents like that. You know, they didn't grow up eating out of a box or a can.
Sure.
So they like foods to be made from fresh and whole foods, and that's our basic approach. But yeah, the meal times are a social time, and usually the kitchen, the dining room fills up faster than the activity room, for instance. Everybody likes to come to meals.
Still the heart of the home, then.
It's
Definitely.
still the heart of the home. And you know, hearth, which is the kitchen, it all comes from the same word, the Greek word of health. So hearth, home, health, has the same root word in Greek and Roman. So it's all very tied together, absolutely.
That is interesting. Like us, the residents have places to go, people they need to see, be it doctorate appointments, medical, dental, hearing. Is reliable transportation to and from something that they can count on?
Well, one of the things we pride ourselves on is we've worked very hard over the last 25 years to integrate third-party professionals into our community. We were instrumental in getting the Colorado Department of Health to change the rules about hospice, for instance. It used to be 25 years ago that if you were bedbound, you had to move to a nursing home. That's not what the resident wanted, that's not what the family wanted. So we made the appeal to the state, look, let John stay here. We'll bring in a physician to address clinical issues, skin, pain, etc. And we'll see how it worked out. And the state said, well, we're going to watch that very closely. As a result of our efforts now, we can bring in hospice, we can bring in physicians, we can bring in physical therapists, we can bring in mental health specialists. So most of the services that the elderly need come here. Because most of the time it's 2 working children, you know, the spouses are working. Nobody has time to take a resident to a doctor. If there is a need, obviously we work to get that need filled either through, let's make sure a family member is available, or we do it, or we bring a taxi. There are senior transportation services to fulfill those needs. So yeah, one way or another we get it done. But what we really pride ourselves in is integrating outside third-party professionals into here so that you don't have to leave.
Which is modernizing this world, just like the rest of the world. We're so used to everything coming to us now, and so you're offering that same thing as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, their needs are being taken care of, but life is more than just what they need. But to experience things they want is just as important. Daily activities, they go beyond their existence, but really to enjoying. Tell me about the daily activities and why that's critical.
We operate on what we call the Jack Benny model. If you recall, when Jack Benny was in his 80s and someone would ask him how old he was, he'd say 39. So consciousness does not age like the body does. In fact, the consciousness is virtually ageless. You can feel 20 in your mind when you're 80. So we pay attention to the fact that the human being inside that aging body still requires spiritual involvement, creative involvement, travel involvement, knowledge, intellect, and our activity department is both recreational and therapeutic in that way. One of my favorite activities that we do here is we've been hot mic'd to a watering hole in Africa for many years, and once a week the ranger flicks a switch and we're at that watering hole with the ranger. So we see the new elephant babies that are being brought in, the new giraffe babies that are being brought in. The residents name them, and over periods of years we watch them grow up. So once a week we have a travel, life, animals, education, all involved in that one activity. So there's an example of what we do to bring more than just bingo to the residents.
So basically, like any home out there, this is more than just about self. This is really about community. It's about shared lives with those around us.
Well, yeah, life is relationships, isn't it? My wonderful wife, who ran this place for 15 years, Cindy, we've been in a relationship for 40 years, so I can speak from some experience that relationships are what it's all about. So first of all, tip of my hat to Cindy, who's the old axiom that sometimes the student surpasses the teacher is certainly true in this case, because Cindy became a better administrator of assisted living than I ever was. But it really is relationship. So we work very hard when we get a new resident to make sure that they're introduced to like-minded people. They sit with like-minded people in the dining room, for instance, and that the activity program is designed to meet their needs. The residents have an activity committee meeting on a regular basis. So if they want to see something or do something or have something, we make sure they get it. One of the most recent requests was, we want to go to the Breckenridge Brewery. It was a blizzard that day, so we put it off for a couple days for safety reasons, but they did get up to the Breckenridge Brewery and just had a heck of a time.
Speaking of the Breckenridge Brewery, I mean, I seen that there on Facebook page, as you're able to capture some of those moments that go on in the community. I mean, it's got to warm the hearts of family out there who can still stay connected through your Facebook page and still see some of these outings, activities, smiles on the faces. Quite a bit goes off-site like that, and like you say, that has to really balance out living, if you will. Is that enjoyable for the staff as well?
Oh, it is. You know, we hire with, this is a hearts and minds business. It has enough complexity from a healthcare perspective and all of the other aspects, nutritional health, psychological health. There is some intellectual complexity to it. So when we hire staff, we hire for hearts and minds. Somebody said once that the most important distance in your body is the 16 centimeters between your mind and your heart. And so it's not, we work very hard and we pay a lot of attention to not only open and educate the minds of our staff, but to open and fill the hearts of our staff. And they absolutely take great joy in delivering love and kindness to the residents here. It makes it difficult when they pass away.
Yeah.
But that's an emotional intelligence issue, what we call EQ, and we're not the only person to call it that, emotional intelligence. We pay a lot of attention to that. Obviously, pain is a part of life, but that's just part of taking care of staff, to make sure that when a resident does pass away that they loved, they know how to deal with it.
I mean, speaking of staff, to sustain this level of award-winning care, it requires a team. Your focus has always been on team retention. Not only are the residents happy, but the team is happy, and obviously you've been recently awarded, so obviously it shows.
Well, if you give me just a moment to talk about something that we came up with long before Meet the Fockers. We came up with a concept called the circle of trust and respect. And this is basically how it works. And we tell a new hire this when we hire them. You are going to learn to trust and respect management, because we're going to be respectful of you. We're going to give you all the tools that you need to do your job. We're always going to treat you fair and listen to you and respond to you and develop a good relationship. So you're going to learn to trust and respect us. That's where the circle of trust and respect starts. As you go out onto the floor with the rest of your coworkers, do your fair share of the work to a level of quality that we've all agreed on, and then that circle of trust will not only include you and me, but the rest of the staff will be in that circle of trust and respect. Something very interesting happens, which we call ordinary magic. Residents are very sensitive. So when they see a functional management and functional, trusting and respectful staff, they join that circle. The next thing that happens, a daughter comes in and says, I don't know what you guys are doing here, but I've not seen mom this happy in 10 years. And then the family joins that circle of trust and respect, and it gets this big. All of a sudden, all of our referring partners are occupational therapists and home health care agencies and discharge planners and hospitals. They join the circle of trust and respect, and our success is secured. So the circle of trust and respect is a key concept in our organization that we will never let go of.
Let's start small, expands, becomes a ripple effect. As you have witnessed the heart of this community, kept alive with kindness, patience, inspiration, and recognition of these shared lives, Does it continue to be rewarding for you?
Every day. Every day. We, to this day, get bouquets at Christmas time or at the holiday of a death of a resident, sometimes 10, 12 years later. Families that were so thankful of the care that we gave their parent. I don't know of much other work, right livelihood, right speech. These are fundamental truths of Buddhism. And although we're not Buddhists, we do like the concept of right livelihood. And I think a business that is involved in love and service is difficult to beat.
That is excellent. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. On the website, learn more about the program. You're going to see their activity schedule, meal menus, quite a lot going on behind the scenes, all the services they provide. You can keep connected with them right there on Facebook. If you're a parent who has a loved one here, you can see some great smiles on their faces as they venture out and enjoy their community, and also check out the testimony as well. Once again, that is the Retreat at Church Ranch, providing continuous protective oversight with love and service to each other while serving residents from all across the Front Range. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.